I think like one of the greatest things that AI has done for marketing ops folks is this renewed understanding of the importance of data quality. I chat with marketing
Yeah,
ops teams all the time who've had a couple of like epics or projects on the roadmap deprioritized quarter after
yeah,
quarter to improve data quality. And now
yeah,
we have CEOs and boards saying like, we need to fix deduplication. We need to fix
right.
enrichment. We need to fix our bidirectional sync with Salesforce and all our other tools. What are your thoughts on this idea of data strategy and this importance of data quality and having, like you called it, a rights map and like a current ledger of
Yeah,
who owns, accesses, and can train on our most valuable data sets? Like, who should own this? What are your thoughts there?
yeah. So a couple thoughts. I mean, you don't have an AI strategy if you don't have a really sharp and great data strategy. You just
Yeah.
don't. If we go back 5, 6 plus years ago, people didn't understand this, right? The rise of the data clouds has really made this really clear. So that we've crossed that chasm like years ago. So even the more laggard, late majority companies understand that they need to get their data together. You just look at the rise of data clouds and how prominent they are and how effective they are as a store for your data, not just your customer data, your marketing performance data, your transaction data, loyalty, et cetera. It's so obvious that that's where you should be putting your data, right? And I'm not advocating any one particular data cloud, but just to say, let's look at how effectively they've grown, and they've grown for cost and security and AI reasons and more. So we're well since past that time. That used to be the case. So yeah, being really clear about governance of data, who has rights, who basically is responsible, basically make sure you track and then understand what data is being used for what. Like that needs to be treated. Think of like asset management, like this laptop I have at a company, like we track like assets like that. Yet, historically haven't done that with data, which is arguably one of the most important assets any company has. So similar to the red team drill I mentioned before, you need to simulate to make sure that your practices hold up in an emergency, or that if something goes wrong, you know who is responsible for what. When there's IP leakage, when there's hallucination in something core, I think you have to have a mindset that data really matters, and then you have to have a mindset that there's going to be stuff that goes wrong. This is frontier technology, and I think the teams that are succeeding have realistic expectations. They basically don't think it's going to solve everything and not have hallucinations or have failures. It's going to, and then just get over it and have processes in place to know who's going to be responsible for what when this thing doesn't work the way you expect it to. That's just the nature of new technology. So maybe that's how I think about the data piece and how it relates to governance and red team drills and like really being thoughtful and really nimble with the underlying data itself.
Super cool. Wait, unpack that red team drill idea a little bit more. Like, is this something that Growth Loop has tested internally when you're rolling out new things? Like, give me a practical example there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I more thinking. So the practice has taken hold in almost any company when you're simulating a cyber event of some form. Something happens, it's impossible to be too clear as to who's responsible for what when you're going through something like that. When there's like you're under a lot of pressure and time pressure, and there's consequences, right? Erosion of trust with your customer is like is really a big problem in companies. So this concept of red team is basically simulating something that is not ideal, so that if and when it does happen, you know who does what. So yeah, we do similar things here. Any great company I've ever been a part of does something equivalent for cyber. And I'm just here to suggest that you need to do the same at a
Hmm.
much more micro level with your AI strategy so that people are really clear and can avoid any of the missteps that inevitably will happen so you can recover very quickly.